Welcome to Cultural Fluency Makers. I'm your host, David Wellish. Each week, we welcome leaders to share how they stay ahead of the ever-changing consumer landscape. With today's cultural transformation, top brands need to understand diverse consumer segments from Gen Z, Hispanic, and LGBTQ+, to gamers, wine enthusiasts, and basketball fanatics in Iowa. Their marketing strategies require them to keep the pulse on their consumers, but also their brand in the category to continue to grow revenue for the long term. Cultural Fluency Makers is sponsored by Collage Group, the only cultural intelligence engine that provides brand and consumer insights on the why that drives consumer behavior and purchase decisions. Let's get started. Good morning. So while we could conduct this episode in Spanish, we're going to do it in English for all of you. This is going to be a fun one. Today, I have with me a leader driven by a passion for creating value, an eye for a good deal, and an unwavering commitment to a bold vision. He has led investor relations, planning, and M&A for multi-billion-dollar companies such as Panera Bread, Televisa, and Chase Bank, and launched joint ventures that changed industries. He's currently spearheading a U.S. expansion for a major Mexican beverage company, building a powerhouse team from the ground up, and unlocking new opportunities in one of the world's most competitive and complex markets. He currently serves as a country manager, USA, at Grupo Jumex. Carlos Madrazo, it is great to have you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, David. I'm excited to be here and talk about what we're doing with Jumex in the US, how we're thinking about brand, culture, and connection.
Carlos, you've got a great story to tell, and I can't wait to start. So before we talk about Jumex and all the great things that you're doing, given the demographic landscape shifts that have taken place in this country that are actually so relevant in your world, what do you see as the role for cultural intelligence or cultural insights for consumer companies in this country?
Well, cultural intelligence has become absolutely essential for any consumer company in the US. And I just don't mean acknowledging segments like Latino, Asian, or African American consumers. It's about understanding the nuances within those groups and even the regional differences within the same cultural segment. For example, the Hispanic market. Reaching a first-generation Hispanic consumer is very different from engaging someone who is third generation and fully acculturated. And the way you connect with a Hispanic audience in Texas isn't the same as in California or New York. Each community, as you know, has its own mix of preferences and cultural references that you have to take into account. For Jumex, this is personal. We were born in Mexico in the early 60s, and we've always been an iconic brand for Hispanic consumers. But over time, we've evolved because our audience has evolved. Today, slightly more than half of our customers in the US are non-Hispanic. We have embraced that shift by making a conscious effort to become a beverage brand for everyone, not only for the Hispanic market. And that means tapping into cultural insights, not just to stay relevant in the Hispanic community, but also to authentically connect with the broader US market. And it's about understanding what resonates with different audiences, what they drink, how they shop, what stores move them, and making sure that Jumex shows up in a way that feels right to them.
Thank you, Carlos. It is so interesting. I think what I have seen from my vantage point is that crossover space is so exciting and it's massive in this country because authenticity is sexy in a way that maybe it wasn't, 5, 10, 15 years ago. So you say cultural intelligence is essential. What's challenging about it? What's hard? How do you access it?
Honestly, the challenge is balance. So you want to stay true to your heritage. But if you do not evolve, you risk becoming a museum piece. So the hard part is knowing what to hold on to and what to adapt. The other thing to keep in mind, this culture isn't static. It's always changing. And if you're not listening in real time, you're gonna miss those shifts. So it's not enough to have a one-time insight. You need systems in place to keep learning, to keep adjusting, and to show up in the right way.
Do you feel like you've got the tools necessary to do exactly that today?
Well, we're learning along the way. We're always exploring additional ways of getting those insights, and we don't have it right yet. But I know that if we continue pursuing this effort, we'll eventually get it right.
It's a process. It's a process for sure. So, Carlos, I've been moderating and moderating roundtables and talking to many CMOs and heads of insights in the last maybe 16 months or so. And when we talk about cultural relevance, and I ask a question, which is, how important is cultural relevance to win hearts and minds of consumers today? Usually the answer is, it is critical. Cultural relevance is at the center of so much, which aligns to what you're saying about cultural intelligence. Can I ask you, what is your definition of cultural relevance? At Collage, we call it cultural fluency. But what's your definition of cultural relevance or cultural fluency? And how do you believe you become one in the marketplace?
Well, cultural relevance means showing up in a way that feels true and familiar to the people that you're trying to reach. For us at Jumex, I can tell you that it means honoring our heritage. That means using flavors like mango and guava because they resonate with the Hispanic households. Sharing family moments around the table and speaking the language, literally and emotional. We don't just market to the Hispanic consumers, we market with them. We use the insights from real people to shape our creative process and our product choices. So bottom line, I believe that cultural relevance, you earn it by listening and showing up with intention and staying consistent over time.
Right. So, Carlos, leading Jumex's US expansion, you're tasked with really both making a beloved brand from Mexico resonate deeply, A, within the Hispanic consumer, B, with a highly diverse American market as well. It's a striking the balance is not easy. Could you discuss the marketing best practices you prioritize for authentically translating Jumex's rich cultural heritage, but at the same time adapting to connecting with other like non-Hispanic white consumers?
That's a very good question, David. We always start with a very high quality product. Humix is flavor forward, is colorful, is vibrant, is authentic, and has universal appeal. And how you present it can vary. So for consumers who grew up with a brand, it's about tapping into that nostalgia and the cultural pride. For consumers discovering us for the first time, it's about excitement and flavor discovery. A great example is Humix Hard. That's a recently launched hard nectar with 5% alcohol content. And we didn't water the brand down. We led with our strength, which is an iconic brand, real flavor, authenticity. But we adapted the format. We partnered with Arizona Beverages and made sure that the vibe felt right for the younger, more diverse drinkers. And that's a balance. It's same soul, but it's a modern presentation.
How intentional has the brand been in attracting the non-Hispanic white consumer? Was that almost a surprise? The Hispanic market is so large, you can build a fantastic business within the Hispanic consumer. How intentional was it to go after the non-Hispanic white consumer?
Non-intentional at all. Traditionally, the products had been distributed in the Hispanic aisle, and it was really surprising to me to find out statistics that show that more than half of our customers, slightly more, are non-Hispanic. So we are grabbing this as an opportunity to take the brand out of the Hispanic aisle. Who Makes Hard was the first example of that, and we did it very successfully. And we're very excited about the opportunity that this presents. And also, it's a really interesting time in the market because um, there is a desire for a consumption of products with flavor profiles that are non-traditional, going with flavors from Mexico or from Southeast Asia, from other parts of the world. So I think we are in a very unique point in time to take what we have, which is this iconic brand, and a business that has existed in the US for 41 years, and really making the most out of it.
It seems like a massive opportunity, Carlos.
It is.
And congrats for being at the forefront of it. I think it's really interesting, and I think you're right. You're leveraging this this consumer preference for rich, high texture, authentic, which is fantastic. So you've been innovating at a pretty fast speed. We've been watching from the outside, and it's hard to keep up. Striking partnerships, getting into new spaces. Share with us, Carlos, about the process that you've gone through um, to actually determine what spaces to get into, what partnerships to strike, even the process of getting green light to doing these things, and finally, how are these initiatives going?
Well, we started by taking a look at the market. The beverage market in the US is many times bigger than the nectarist market, which is the one that we lead. So we stopped comparing ourselves to the other nectarist companies and we started comparing ourselves to everyone else. And when you do that, we're really small. So for us, the opportunity, the sky is the limit. And we have to start by looking at the categories that are growing, but also that have scale. And categories where we can take our competitive advantages, such as our production capacity, our access to fruits, our innovation expertise, to really try to leverage those and have a better chance at competing in this market, which, as you know, is incredibly challenging. But we're focusing on the categories that are growing and the categories that are scale. And you're going to see many more products from Jumex coming into the market pretty soon.
Fantastic. Maybe talk about a little more deeply about the couple ones that you guys have taken to market, your Odwalla, partnership, the hard seltzer, and both in very different spaces, but so I think so groundbreaking.
Well, I'll tell you about Odwalla. That's a very interesting launch. We came up with the opportunity of relaunching the brand. The brand, as you might remember, was born in California in 1980, and it was around for 40 years, the last 20 in the hands of Coke, and they decided to close it down 4 years ago. And we came across the opportunity of relaunching the brand. And I truly believe there isn't a company better suited to relaunch it than Jumex, because just like Jumex, Odwalla is about quality, it's about natural ingredients, it's about the flavor profile, is fruit forward. So this is a very good example of a place where we have a skill set that we can put to work and give us an advantage. And it's incredibly rewarding to see how much people love the brand. We saw it in social media. We saw genuine excitement. And people are very happy to see the brand come back. They're emotionally invested. Expo West, visitors kept coming back to our booth. They were curious, thrilled, and often they had a story to share. Some recalled a favorite smoothie from college. Even former employees stopped by, proud to have once been part of a journey. So we're being very, very intentional, but very careful about the categories that we go after.
And was that intentional or opportunistic? Which one and why?
About a year and a half ago, the board decided to take a more proactive approach towards growing in the US. When you think about the successful Mexican CPG companies in the US, their US business is bigger than Mexico. And the company has built a very successful business in the US, as I mentioned before, 41 years. but we felt that we could use that incredible platform to more proactively build a bigger business in the US. And this is one of the opportunities that came up that fit really well with that strategy.
Great. And what about that's adjacent in many ways. What about getting into the alcoholic beverage, into the hard seltzer space? That's different. How tell us the story. How did that happen?
Well, we feel it's incredibly important to listen to the customer, right? We shouldn't be launching things that we decide on the whole way that they might be good or they taste good. What we did is we saw that in social media, people were mixing the nectars with alcohol. They've been doing it for many years. Um, and we came across the opportunity to do it with Arizona. So basically, we didn't invent who makes hard. It wasn't a team of executives in a meeting room coming up with the idea. We saw that the market was doing it. We said, how can we make it easier, maintaining the same quality, the same heritage, the same focus on flavor, and making it easy for the customer? And I think that's key to anything that we develop at the company.
I mean, it seems that the pattern, the theme that I'm hearing so much is customer centricity, consumer centricity, and listening. The answer lies there. Like customers, consumers, they know what they want. You just have to align it to where growth and scale uh, comes in.
That's exactly right.
Exciting times, Carlos.
Yes, I'm very, very excited and privileged to be representing a company like Jumex. Now, the company has been around since the 1960s, and I think we have a tremendous opportunity to make it even bigger than it already is in the US.
What's hard about this journey? No journey is easy, especially when it's meaningful. What's hard?
Well, one is we are in the most competitive market in the world. For every Jumex card, you probably have another 2,000 hard beverages that are being launched, and we can't minimize the level of complexity of participating in a market like this one. Change is also hard, right? You've been doing things in one way for many years, and for us as individuals and as companies, it's really difficult to change. And sometimes you have to just get started, even if you don't have it 100% right, and you know, give it a try. We're going to launch many initiatives. Some are going to fail, some are going to work out, and we're hoping that the ones that work out are better than the ones that fail. But I think that um, uh, change is hard.
Change is hard. As we speak about change, I just came back from a conference last week on AI, and gosh, I think we've seen many disruptions in the technology and business world in the last whatever maybe 25, 30 years. I worked at AOL for many years, and so we saw the digital transformation. We saw social being born. I mean, we at AOL we faced the dial-up broadband, birth, and yet sitting in that room, I joke as I came back to the company and spoke to our team that you gotta take an anxiety pill because the rate of change is just unprecedented, and it's gonna impact every business, everything we do. Um, I'm curious, what is your view and your perspective on the role that AI plays in your business and in the marketing world overall?
Well, we're using AI mostly behind the scenes right now, just to help us be more productive. I think it will continue to evolve, and I truly hope it plays a bigger role at some point because it's about productivity. But I have a hard time believing that it will replace instinct or culture or empathy because those are human. I'm excited about what's to come and very curious to start using it when it becomes something that we can incorporate into, for example, new product development.
Yeah, it's we one of the interesting areas that's being discussed is the notion of synthetic audiences. And at Collage, we're sitting on, billions of data points. And so we begin with seed data, and it's so really so tempting and so interesting to begin to figure out, do synthetic audiences based on actual data work, for research. So it's gonna evolve, and it's gonna be a really interesting space to watch. So Carlos, this first part we learned from you, and now we're going to spend a few minutes just learning about you. And so, what inspires you? What motivates you to do what you do every day?
It's a good question. I would say, I get most excited when I see that an idea turns into something real. You know, Having a thought, giving it a plan, putting it to work, and then suddenly it's a product in somebody's hands. I think that's magic to me. And it's also the belief that we can all drive positive change, just not professionally, but how we show up for others. If something I help build makes someone feel seen, proud, or just brings joy, that's fuel to me and to my team as well.
That feels like a great combination. So, innovation, change, and positivity. I like that. So, this next question I ask of everybody, and it's really intended for a younger audience who, in many ways, I think needs during these times the perspective and points of view of experience. And so, if you could travel back in time and give your 20-year-old self advice, what would that be?
I think a lot about that because I have teenage daughters, and you're always visualizing yourself when you were that age to see how to advise them. No, and I would say to trust yourself more, to move faster on the things that feel right. Don't overthink everything, right? Just learn by doing it. Uh, and also, it's about the people. Surround yourself with great people, the ones that challenge you, the ones that support you, that coach you, and that make the work better. Looking back, the best parts of my journey have always been about the people that I've been surrounded by.
Fantastic. So go hard, trust yourself, go faster, and surround yourself with great people. I love that. And to close out, Carlos, the show, what do you do for fun? What do you do for fun outside of work?
Well, I try to spend as much time as I can with my family, but my passion is endurance cycling. It's intense, it's painful, but it's the best mental reset I know. It's kind of like life. You only fall if you stop moving. I believe Einstein said that. The climbs are hard, but you always earn the view and the adrenaline on the way down. Uh, it's painful, but it's part of a point. It teaches you resilience, and I know it's even better when you do it with a group of friends, with people. There's something powerful about riding in a group, pushing through together, and it reminds me of leadership. Actually, it's not about being the fastest; it's about keeping everyone moving forward.
When did you get into that?
Well, about 20 years ago.
Fantastic. You talk about resilience, and it reminds me. I don't know if you watched the final of the French Open in tennis this last weekend. Talk about resilience.
Oh yes, pretty amazing.
Amazing. What an amazing game. Well, Carlos, so much gratitude for you. Thank you for sharing all of your experiences, your wisdom with us, and congrats on a really fantastic professional trajectory. And we know that you're going to hit a home run with Jumex, and we'll be in the sidelines watching and cheering for you. So great to have you. Thank you very much.
David, it's been my pleasure. Thank you for inviting us to the podcast.
Thank you. And this has been another exciting episode of Cultural Fluency Makers. See you next time. That's a wrap on another episode of Cultural Fluency Makers. Thank you for joining us. Please share your comments and what you would like to hear more about. Be as specific as possible. For show notes and more, please visit culturalfluencymakers.com. This show is proudly sponsored by Collage Group, unleashing the power of cultural intelligence to fuel brand growth. Please follow Collage Group on LinkedIn, and we will see you next week.